The year is 2025. The march of the machines and Phyrexia have been staved off once more, and a new era is upon us, the era of the Omen Paths. A more egalitarian era, where power is not held solely by a clique of planeswalkers who traverse the multiverse as they see fit. That power now lands solely with the Hasbro Corporation. And whichever Hot Topic imminently licensable knickknack they get their greedy paws on next. Take this, for example, this monument to creativity. In its brutalist glory, could never have been constructed by the primitive Americans, which reigned here nearly 100 of years ago. A superior intelligence must have constructed such a wonderful monument. I posit that the true power that must overcome the age of the Omen Paths is none other than Karn, the great creator. It seems that through Karn's superior intelligence alone can we stave off this horrible age of multiverse of licensing schemes and bring Magic the Gathering back to what it is supposed to be. You and a bunch of funny robots that you like. I'm MTG Rat Girl, and this is Urza, the Prince of Copies. Hey there, Squeakers. Today, we're going to take over where Mom left off and start kicking out machines, because who says you need to be a mother or a praetor to be a good parent, huh? I can be pregnant with 1,000 robots if I feel like it! Urza, Prince of Krug, lets us play all of our pet cards, all of my favorite little babies, and as long as they're artifacts, they'll get a buff, and soon start to multiply. This Azorius commander drew me in as a notorious Timmy player because of that first line of text. Make the creature go big, right? Go boom, good, hard. However, any seasoned artifact player will be aware of the ridiculous number of ways that you can make infinite colorless mana. So that activated ability is where the real power lies. Let's look over all of the ways that we can win by making Urza into a powerful copy machine. It'll take you some time to get there, but just like a reliable printer from the 90s, it'll do nothing for a few minutes and then fire out 50 print jobs all at once without a warning. Copy machine combo, here we go. In order to totally ethically and completely innocently usher in a new era of machines, we'll first need something that makes tokens for free from this stack right here. Free tokies! My favorite option for this is Oltec Matterweaver, but Efficient Construction and Psi Master Thopterist are artifact staples that accomplish the same thing. Next, we'll need 2 pieces from this stack: Reduce, Reuse, Reconstruct. We're going to be comboing off by continuously casting these artifacts by returning one to our hand when the other one dies. The most well-known and reliable combo for this is Mirror Retriever and Scrap Trawler. We love and support them. Besties forever. Tameshi and Emery are here to get things out of your graveyard for just like good value, not because they have a place in the infinite combo. And lastly, you'll need Ashnod's Altar. I know it's a pricey card, but we need some way to keep killing our own stuff for mana, and I'm not going to tell you to get a KCI instead, am I? You think I'm made of money? You think I think you're made of money? Anyway, once we cobble these pieces together, the line goes like this. You get all the pieces on board, sacrifice Retriever or Trawler to Ashnod's Altar, adding 2 colorless, then the other recycler triggers, allowing you to return it to your hand. Oltec Matterweaver triggers, making a creature token, sacrifice that token and the other recycler, adding 4 mana. Now you've made 6 mana, which is 1 more than you need to cast both of your recyclers again. And then you just leave the last one floating. Do this as long as you want, and then dump all of the floating mana into your commander's activated ability, and boom, infinite 3/3 creatures. Just like that. Keep in mind that all of these pieces are interchangeable with other ones in their stack, and no piece is ever a dead draw on its own. Urza is good at making all of these flimsy little artifacts that we need into actually heavy hitters to block and win the fairway by punching your opponent in the head. But this, much like all my favorite creature combos, doesn't actually win the game on the spot. I'm notorious for that. It relies on your opponents having nothing in hand to deal with your massive army until your next combat step. Luckily, Urza can copy any target artifact. It doesn't have to be one of your creatures. One way to make sure you win like a true blue player is by sticking this unassuming $1 opposition on the field before you go off. Once you have a ton of creature copies with the Brother 2000 series Urza, you can use them all to tap down your opponent's lands for the next round. And then they just don't get a turn, and you get to swing. Easy. Another way to do this is with Junkwinder. It isn't as good since it can't lock down lands, but at least it will make sure that you're winning the fair swingy battle on your next turn. And it locks down artifacts too. Meteorite is the most straightforward. You get infinite colorless mana, copy this overcosted mana rock 1,000 times, and then you rain the heavens themselves down onto your table's life totals. Thran Spider is another outlet that isn't your commander, just in case you can't access him for whatever reason. Draneth Magistrate looking at you. Drawing every artifact out of an artifact deck is usually enough to get you to a win. Similarly, Mind's Desire takes advantage of all the creature casting that you'll be doing to take everything out of your deck and just plop it right onto the field. This crazy storm payoff is under $1 right now, which feels very much worth the include. If you can make at least one treasure token on the turn that you combo off with Monologue's Tax or Smuggler's Share, they both get you there for around $1, then you can also storm off and win with Blind Obedience. Once you have the recycle loop going, just make sure that you copy a treasure token every time through the loop and spend it to extort your opponents on the next spellcast. Easy, instant drain. You can copy the treasure token with either Oltec Matterweaver or Urza, which is why I really like it as an include. Big swingin'. Okay, we've got our magical Candyland scenarios out of the way, but mostly you're going to want to win with this deck by pretending to be a green player. Do it. Do it now. It'll make the game fun, I promise. Please be a green player. The most reliable way to win with this blue and white deck is by making your creatures bigger than your opponent's creatures and doing it fast. You are, after all, operating a glorified giant printer, and he must go burr. Nettlecyst and Mace of the Valiant will get bigger the more copies you make with Urza, just as long as a creature hits the field. This has the byproduct of going infinite if you combo off, but they're well worth it for the value on their own. You know I had to find a way to make this into a Voltron list, right? I always sneak it in there somewhere. Kappa Cannoneer and Patchwork Automaton both get a +1 counter every time you cast an artifact spell, which this deck is unsurprisingly full of. Karn, Scion of Urza, and Thousand Moon Smithy each make a Karnstruct token, which also grow the more copies of them you make. All the cards in this section are directly synergistic with Urza because if you copy them, they buff each other every time. Who says you have to go wide or tall in this game, huh? Hot Soup and Suspicious Bookcase are both here to make sure that one of your glorious machines can't be chump blocked. And they're also artifacts themselves. That's what we call synergy in the business. Copies. Okay, remember all of those university copy machines that you had to pay 50 cents into anytime you needed an essay or a document printed for your class? Because it just wasn't stressful enough that you had to juggle a dozen deadlines in one weekend, right? Well, Urza is a stingy, stuffy college librarian, the lord of the photocopiers, and you need and you deserve a discount, goddammit. That's why we have Training Grounds and Hearthstone in here to take the edge off of that heavy 6-mana activation cost. Mechanized Production can also copy some of your things for free, which comes in handy for when you get Matterweaver on the field as well, since casting spells will let you copy an artifact token. It even comes with its own win condition. How cool is that? Even though it's very telegraphed, you can actually sneak in a win with this card on your upkeep if you happen to have Threefold Thunderhulk or Mere Battlesphere in your hand the same turn that it comes down. Just choose the little mirror or the gnome creature token as the target for Mechanized Production. Now you have 4 tokens for the enchantment's win condition, right? On your next upkeep, activate Urza before the Mechanized Production trigger happens, copying either the Thunderhulk or the Battlesphere. This will make 4 more copies of those mirror or gnomes, since the copy of Thunderhulk would enter as a 1/1 with 3+1 counters on it. It makes 4 tokens, and then you just let the trigger resolve and win the game. Mendicant Core Guidelight is another big boy that we get to activate if we get to top speed. What does that mean? I'll let you know after my limited event, when I have to care. I have no idea what top speed means. Anyway, he lets us copy an artifact spell for 1 extra mana if we reach top speed. Seems handy. Maybe. Probably. It's not released yet. Sculpting Steel is in here because something that can be an extra mana rock or a 3-mana version of Kappa Cannoneer is pretty great on its own. However, it's actually left over from when I was trying to build this as a Tameshi Reanimator deck. The combo is still in here. Somewhere. You want me to explain it? Oh my god, fine, I'll explain it. Okay, let's go to the next section. Mana. Lotus
Bloom
is a great mana rock as long as you aren't suspending it. It even works when you do have to suspend it in your opening hand, honestly. It makes a really funny loop with Sculpting Steel in hand and Tameshi and Ancient Den on the battlefield. CEDH players know this one. So once the 3 cards are out, you use your Lotus
Bloom
mana to cast Sculpting Steel targeting the Ancient Den. Then tap the copied Ancient Den and bounce it to your hand to activate Tameshi, returning the
Bloom
from your graveyard to your battlefield. That's right. Mana costs 0. It doesn't enter with time counters at all. Now you can keep casting the Sculpting Steel infinitely and use the Storm count to make Patchy or Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles huge, or you can cast your Mind's Desire to flip your deck over, just like with the other combo. For the more normal mana rocks, we have all of the ones that make our colors, because they're artifacts and we're an artifacts deck. Mana rocks, I'll say it does. Nettlecyst loves as many artifacts as we can pack in, so they're going in there. Also, the Sad Robot and the Deer are the artifact versions of Rampant Growth, so we put those in, because we respect Rampant Growth in this house. Best card in the game, do not argue with me, I will turn this photocopier around. Mana reduction is also notoriously broken in this archetype because of, like, the lack of colored pips. You could cut something for another one of these cards if you want, to be honest, but the ones that we do have in here are Factory Inspector and Starnheim Courser. Letting you cast Soul Ring or even Patchy for free is really good. Who would have guessed? Draw. Next, in order to keep this machine lubricated and wet, just the way that you freaks on Tumblr like it. I've seen the Starscream tag, okay? I've seen the GLaDOS tag. I know who you are. You can't hide from me. We can add pieces that draw cards whenever we cast artifacts. Transplant Theorist and Lochiel do this really well, and Shimmer Dragon can continuously draw our deck once we are making all of the artifact tokens that we want. Cards like Thought Monitor, Split Skin Doll, and Tezzeret Betrayer of Flesh will all make sure that you're drawing an extra card once per round. You never need to take this version of Tezzeret down, by the way. Just draw cards and take advantage of that static ability until you can ult him. Tamio's Logbook is a great card draw engine in the late games after you've been copying things a bunch. It lets you draw an extra card every turn as long as you have 5 or more artifacts left. Pretty worth it, if you ask me. Interaction. For removal and protecting our Holy Copy Machine combo, we have some counterspells, one of which lets us tap an artifact instead of paying an extra mana for it, so that's pretty handy. Many of our removal options are artifacts, namely Annex Sentry, Glass Casket, and Soul Guide Lantern for those pesky graveyard players. Who would do that? Scum of the earth. The best cards in the game are usually 3 CMC or less anyway, so you're basically punishing your opponent for playing good cards when you think about it. Assimilation Aegis also punishes your opponents for being too splashy by stealing their best creature and turning one of your creatures into a copy of it. This is the ultimate corporate espionage move. Just get a bunch of tiny little guys out there, take your portable copier to their deck list, and swipe whatever you like the best. Filter Out is one of my personal pet cards for token-based decks because it lets you sweep away any problematic enchantments and artifacts without vanishing your board of beautiful, glorious machines. If any of your non-creature artifacts are worth protecting, you would just copy them with Urza before casting this spell, right? Perplexing Test is just another option that allows you to stop your opponents from going wider than you, and Organic Extinction is a one-sided wipe in this deck since anything that we really want to stay on the field is an artifact. Lands! Here's the land base. Wahoo! The utility lands that matter in this serene mechanical landscape are the artifact lands and Urza's Cave to find them if we happen to need one for the Tameshi combo. We also get to play Spire of Industry for pretty good mana fixing in this deck. Archway of Innovation easily goes mana positive in the late game, as we can use any artifact tokens that we make to pay for our bigger spells like Thunderhulk or Mind's Desire. Monumental Henge lets us dig through our library for artifacts and coincidentally almost any creature that we would want in a given moment, since the few that aren't artifacts are legendary. Both of these require that we play a fair amount of basics, so make sure that you don't cut back on those too much if you're tweaking this list for your own use. And lastly, the most reliable tool in any Timmy player's toolkit is Rogue's Passage. It lets you finish someone off with a giant unblockable gnome token, a big mendicant, or patchy. Now, with the power of the Prusa 3D printer within your grasp, you too can wield the power of Phyrexia, which once lay dormant beneath the earth. Urza might not have been the one to save us from a multiverse of spider-like men and undersea pinheads.
Who you calling Pinhead?
But perhaps you can, dear viewer. You don't have to choose only complicated combos and control, my dear blue players. Thank you for allowing your time to let an enemy green mage show you my culture and how you can participate in it respectfully. This video is sponsored by viewers like you. Thank you. If you want to help me make more videos in the future, make sure you check out my Patreon for some extra videos and updates. This month, I will have an art process video for my latest Magic card commission that I did this month, so please come check it out. I would love it if you did, especially if you're an art fan like myself. Like and subscribe to make sure you catch the next one. Thank you all for watching until the very end. As thanks, here is a cool rock that I found while I was digging in the desert. It almost sounds like it's humming, right? Wow. It's so pretty. Huh. Oh, it's hot. Oh, it's hot. Oh no! Mana rocks? I'll say it does. Anyone ever seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?